They were beside someone else, but emotionally they were still unfinished with you. And the urgent message they carry now is not simple regret, it is a truth they avoided while pretending they had moved on. Have you ever felt someone pull away, choose another path, and still somehow remain connected to your energy? That is not always imagination. Sometimes the heart leaves long before the body admits it. If this message feels like it is touching something you have been silently carrying, pause for a moment and write, "I choose myself," in the comments. Not because you are closing your heart, but because you are reminding yourself that love should never require you to abandon your own soul. They were with someone else, but that does not always mean they had truly left you behind. Sometimes a person can sit beside another body while their inner world is still haunted by a connection they never fully understood. They may have smiled, replied to messages, made plans, and tried to convince themselves that life had moved forward. But beneath the surface, something remained unresolved. Your name may not have been spoken, but your presence still lived quietly in the places they could not explain. This is the part many people misunderstand. When someone chooses another person, it looks final from the outside. It looks like betrayal, replacement, or proof that you meant less than you thought. But emotionally, human beings are rarely that simple. Sometimes they run towards someone else not because the love is stronger, but because the truth with you felt too intense. You touched something in them that they were not ready to face. You awakened feelings, fears, desires, and wounds that demanded honesty. And instead of standing still in that emotional fire, they escaped into something easier. But escape is not freedom. A person can distract themselves, but they cannot completely silence what is unfinished inside them. At first, they may have felt relief. A new connection gave them attention, comfort, or the illusion of control. But slowly, the comparison began. Not always openly, not always consciously. Maybe it happened in small moments. A laugh that did not feel the same. A conversation that stayed on the surface. A silence that felt empty instead of peaceful. A touch that did not reach the soul. And then they started to realize something painful. They had moved physically, but not emotionally. They had changed their surroundings, but not their inner truth. They may have been with someone else, yet still remembered the way you saw through them, the way your absence made the room feel different, the way your energy exposed what ordinary affection could not replace. So the urgent message they carry now is not only, "I miss you," it is deeper than that. It is the message of someone who is finally being confronted by the feeling they tried to bury. Sometimes the person they chose was not really a new love story. It was a shelter. It was a hiding place. It was a way to escape the pressure of facing what they truly felt for you. That may sound painful, but it is also important to understand clearly. Not every relationship people enter is built from depth. Some are built from fear, loneliness, convenience, distraction, ego, or the desperate need to feel normal again. When a connection with you touched something deep inside them, it may have frightened them more than they admitted. You were not just another person in their life. You became a mirror. Around you, they could not easily pretend. Their wounds surfaced. Their insecurities became louder. Their emotional immaturity was exposed. Their need for control began to crack. And instead of growing through that discomfort, they may have chosen someone who asked less from them emotionally. This is why they may have looked happier with someone else at first. Do not be fooled by the surface. A person running from truth often looks peaceful in the beginning because they have temporarily escaped the inner pressure. They can laugh again, they can post pictures, they can act light, available, and confident. But that does not prove they healed. It only proves they found a place where they did not have to confront themselves. The other person may have given them comfort, attention, admiration, or simplicity. But simplicity is not always love. Sometimes simplicity is just the absence of emotional challenge. With you, they had to feel. With you, they had to question themselves. With you, they had to face the possibility that real love requires honesty, maturity, and courage. With someone else, they could remain hidden, but hiding has a cost. Over time, the soul becomes restless when it is fed with comfort, but starved of truth. They may begin to sense that something is missing, even if nothing is technically wrong. The relationship may look fine, but inside there is a quiet emptiness. They may not even know how to explain it. That is because the problem is not always the person they are with. The problem is the truth they abandoned when they walked away from you. The urgent message is not coming from peace, it is coming from pressure. Something inside them has been tightening for a long time, and now the silence is becoming heavier than the fear of speaking. This is what inner conflict does to a person. It divides them. One part says, stay quiet, protect your pride, act like nothing happened. Another part says, tell the truth before it is too late. And when these two voices fight inside someone long enough, the heart becomes restless. They may have tried to ignore this feeling. They may have told themselves that reaching out would make them look weak. They may have convinced themselves that you had moved on, that too much time had passed, or that there was no point reopening the door. But the deeper mind does not work like that. It keeps returning to what was left unfinished. It brings back memories at strange times. It makes them think of you when they are alone, when they hear a certain song, when they pass a familiar place, or when someone says something that reminds them of your voice. This is why their message feels urgent. It is not just a casual thought. It is the result of emotional pressure building beneath the surface. They are realizing that what they buried did not die. It simply waited. And now that truth is pushing its way back into their awareness. But understand this clearly. Urgency does not always mean courage. They may feel deeply, but still speak carefully. They may miss you, but still fear rejection. They may want to confess, but still hide behind small words. That is why their message may come indirectly. A simple, "How are you?" may carry more weight than it shows. A random check-in may not be random at all. Sometimes people test the doorway before they admit they want to walk through it. Their conflict is between the image they try to maintain and the truth they can no longer deny. They wanted to appear unaffected, but their inner world is exposing them. And now the message rising inside them is simple, painful, and difficult. They walked away from something that still speaks to them in silence. They compared without wanting to. That is the part they may never admit openly, but it happens in the quiet corners of the mind. When a person moves from one connection to another before they have fully understood the first, the past does not disappear. It becomes the hidden measuring stick. They may not sit there deliberately thinking, this person is not like you, but emotionally their body knows. Their nervous system remembers. Their heart notices the difference before their pride allows them to say it. At first, they may have tried to block the comparison. They may have told themselves that this new person was better, calmer, easier, safer. Maybe they focused on the good parts because they needed to prove to themselves that their choice made sense. But when the surface excitement began to fade, reality started speaking. They noticed that certain conversations did not go as deep. Certain silences did not feel as warm. Certain moments of affection did not carry the same emotional weight. What they thought would replace you only revealed how rare your presence had been. This is not about making the other person look small. That would be cheap. The point is deeper. Sometimes two people can be good, but only one reaches the hidden room inside someone's soul. You may have reached a place in them that ordinary attraction could not touch. You may have seen their contradictions, their fears, their softness, their darkness, and still made them feel understood. That kind of connection is not easily replaced by attention, beauty, comfort, or convenience. And the more they try to act normal, the more the comparison exposed them. Maybe your patience came back to them when they felt misunderstood. Maybe your intensity came back when things felt flat. Maybe your absence became louder whenever they realized they could be beside someone else and still feel emotionally alone. This is why the urgent message has power. It is not born from a sudden mood, it is born from repeated inner evidence. Again and again, life showed them what was missing. Again and again, they were reminded that some connections do not end just because someone chooses a different direction. Now they are facing the consequences of their own choice, and this is where the illusion begins to break. When they chose someone else, they may have believed they were choosing peace. They may have believed they were choosing a cleaner path, a simpler connection, a life where they would not have to explain themselves or feel so deeply. But every choice carries a shadow. Every decision has an emotional price, and sometimes that price is not felt immediately. Sometimes it waits until the noise fades, until the distractions lose power, until the person is alone with what they tried to escape. At first they may have felt in control. They may have told themselves that they did the right thing. They may have even convinced others that they were happy, settled, and certain. But the inner self is not impressed by performances. It does not care about appearances, social media, pride, or excuses. It only responds to truth. And when the truth is ignored for too long, it returns as restlessness, regret, dreams, memories, and a strange emptiness that no new attention can fully remove. This is a consequence they are meeting now. Not punishment, not revenge, consequence. There is a difference. Punishment is forced from outside, but consequence rises from within. It is the emotional result of abandoning something meaningful before understanding its value. They may now realize that your presence gave them something they did not know how to name. Maybe it was emotional safety, maybe it was depth, maybe it was the feeling of being seen beyond their mask, maybe it was the rare comfort of being understood without performing. And now that access is gone. Your warmth is no longer freely available. Your patience is no longer guaranteed. Your attention is no longer waiting at the door. That absence teaches what your presence once tried to show. But here is where you must stay awake. Their pain does not automatically mean they have changed. Missing you is not the same as becoming mature. Regret is not the same as accountability. If they return, listen carefully, not only to their words, but to whether they truly understand the damage their choices created. When they come back, the message may not arrive as a full confession. It may not begin with, "I made a mistake," or "I still love you," or "I should have chosen differently." No, often people who carry guilt do not enter directly through the front door. They come through the side entrance. They send something small, a simple, "Hey," a casual, "How have you been?" A reaction to your story, a memory disguised as a joke, a question they could have asked anyone but chose to ask you. Do not underestimate these small signals, but do not romanticize them blindly either. This is where you need emotional discipline, because sometimes their first message is not the truth itself. It is a test. They are testing whether the door is still open. They are testing whether your energy is still soft toward them. They are testing whether you will respond with anger, silence, warmth, or longing. They may want to know if they still have emotional access to you before they risk exposing what they really feel. This does not always mean they are manipulative. Sometimes it means they are afraid of rejection, afraid of looking foolish, afraid of being confronted, afraid that you have grown past the version of yourself who once waited for them. Shame can make even sincere people act indirectly. A person may miss you deeply and still hide behind ordinary words because the real message feels too dangerous to say. But you must be careful. A test is not commitment. A message is not repair. A moment of nostalgia is not proof of transformation. They may miss the feeling of you without being ready to honor the responsibility of you. That is why your response matters, not because you need to play games, but because you must protect your inner balance. If they reach out casually after causing real pain, do not rush to hand them your whole heart. Let them speak. Let them show consistency. Let them move beyond hints, crumbs, and emotional fog. The urgent message may begin small, but if it is real, it must eventually become honest. You must not lose yourself in their return. This is the most important part, because emotional people often confuse being chosen again with being healed. When someone comes back after being with someone else, it can awaken everything you tried to calm down. The memories return, the questions return, the hope returns. Suddenly the heart starts whispering, maybe this is the moment, maybe they finally understood, maybe the pain meant something. But slow down. Your heart may be open, but your eyes must stay open too. Their return can feel powerful because it touches the wound of not being chosen. It can make you feel validated, as if their message proves you were unforgettable. And maybe you were. Maybe they did compare. Maybe they did miss you. Maybe they did realize that what they had with you was deeper than they admitted. But none of that is enough. Being missed is not the same as being respected. Being desired is not the same as being valued. Being remembered is not the same as being chosen properly. This is where self-respect must become stronger than emotional hunger. Do not let one message erase the nights you spent confused. Do not let one soft sentence cancel the damage of being treated like an option. Do not let their regret become your responsibility to fix. They made choices. Those choices had consequences. If they want to return, they must return with honesty, accountability, and changed behavior, not just feelings. Because a person can miss your comfort while still being unprepared for your depth. They can miss your attention while still avoiding commitment. They can miss your love while still refusing to grow. That is why you must listen to actions more than emotion. Emotion creates beautiful words, but character creates consistent behavior. So if they come back, do not punish them, but do not abandon yourself either. Stand calmly in your worth. Let them speak, but let life prove whether their words have roots. The real question is not whether they still feel something for you. The real question is whether they have become capable of treating you with the care your soul already knows it deserves. If this message is touching something you have been carrying in silence, then pause for a moment and understand what is really happening inside you. This is not only about them, this is also about the part of you that waited, wondered, questioned, and tried to make sense of why someone could feel so close and still choose distance. Maybe you told yourself you were over it. Maybe you forced yourself to move forward. Maybe you stopped speaking about it because people around you were tired of hearing the same story. But deep inside, there was still a quiet place asking, did they ever truly feel it too? And now, when the idea of their urgent message appears, that quiet place wakes up again. It is dangerous if you let it control you, but powerful if you let it teach you. Because the point is not to run back the moment they knock. The point is to recognize that your worth was never dependent on whether they finally understood your value. Their realization may confirm what you already knew, but it should not become the foundation of your self-respect. This is why the words, I choose myself, matter. Not as revenge, not as coldness, not as a performance to make them suffer. You choose yourself because you have learned that love without self-respect becomes suffering. You choose yourself because you no longer want to be available to someone only when their distractions fail. You choose yourself because your heart is not a waiting room where people return after testing every other door. So when this part of the video arrives, ask the viewer to write, "I choose myself" in the comments, because it creates emotional participation. It makes them stop being a passive listener and become part of the message. It reminds them that they are not powerless in this story. Yes, someone may be carrying an urgent message. Yes, someone may regret choosing another path. Yes, someone may finally be waking up to the depth of what they lost. But the viewer must remember this clearly. The most urgent message is not from them. It is from the self that has been asking to be chosen first. So, if they were with someone else and now they carry an urgent message for you, do not rush to hear only what your heart wants to hear. Listen deeper. Their return may be real, but it must also be responsible. Their silence may have hidden regret, but regret alone cannot repair what was broken. Their message may reveal that they never forgot you, but being unforgettable is not the same as being honored. What matters now is not only what they feel, what matters is what they are finally willing to face. Are they coming back because they are lonely or because they are awake? Are they reaching out because the other connection failed, or because they have truly understood the value of yours? Are they bringing honesty or only nostalgia? These are the questions you must hold calmly, without fear and without desperation, because love is not proven by returning after confusion. Love is proven by clarity, consistency, accountability, and the courage to choose someone without making them compete with absence, silence, or another person. You are not here to be someone's emotional backup plan. You are not here to be remembered only when their distractions stop working. You are not here to heal the pain they created while forgetting the pain you carried. So let the message come. Let the truth rise. Let them speak if they must. But do not abandon yourself to understand them. Do not shrink your standards because they finally feel what you felt long ago. If they truly want access to your life again, they must come with more than longing. They must come with maturity. And if they cannot, then the message has still served its purpose. It has shown you that your presence was powerful, your love was real, and your soul was never easy to replace. But now the final choice belongs to you. Choose peace over confusion. Choose truth over fantasy. Choose yourself before anyone who had to lose you to realize your worth.